Yeah, like it on top of the covers. Yeah, Player T, that's me, Hollywood in the hood. We got a really, hey man, everything is everything. We got a really great show tonight, and I'm going to remind you who's joining if you don't already recognize, but I'm going to remind you in a minute. But right now I want to say thank you out there to the people in the world. You know who you are for rocking with us. Y'all hitting us up, y'all sending us links to the stuff that's going on in the world. But I want y'all to take the time right now to be appreciative of a few people, and that's the Coleman family. Big Bud, the naturalist, Miss Kim, got Miles, Morgan, Swole, DJ, the whole family holding the community together for quite some time now. Craig, allowing you to put your face out there in the place, allowing your face to be in the space and get your story out there, For a minute now, you got to thank the Coleman family, straight up and down. So for real. Hey, how Bud doing? You say he doing good?
Yeah, he doing good.
That's good, man. Can't wait till he join us back, man. It'd be kind of like, man, that energy, man. Like, I don't know if you've seen any of the shows, Jason, when Bud here, he's just an energizer, man. He come with abstract thinking and, it just helps the show go along. But we got our young men here, right here, that follow under the same cloth. Big shout to DJ right here, the whole Adams family, the whole team. Big shout to Brother Roland and the Superior Renaissance Community Development Corporation. I was telling Jason before the show, Mr. Moore before the show, about the Superior Renaissance, and that's from East 105 to East 125th Street. You got a group of people that's, reclaiming the territory, man. They just no longer just letting anything happen and anybody, invaders, come in the community and do what they want. No, it's people organizing, residents organizing with the political infrastructure that's there, and the people that just plainly care, people that's not politicians, but people that come out here, clean up the community, people that foster good relations, bring knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to the people that's in this community. So big shout to Superior Renaissance. Big shout to Brother Roland in the bean shop. Jason, you probably not hip, but we hope you do get hip. We got the bean pies, buttermilk pies, apple pies, carrot cake, pound cake, bean soup. Very delicious. We wholesale, and y'all calling, y'all ordering 6 and 7 pies, but let's fill up them trailer trucks we got, man, and let's ship out 7, 8 pies. Let's up the ante. We can do it, straight up and down. Whole tons of artists and people with goods and products that rock with us. You're on the website after the show. Continue to peruse the website and come across some great things that you can be a part of, whether it's a product, good, or service. But right now, like I said at the onset of the show, if you've been paying attention to any of the marketing and promotion, we got a really great guy that's near and dear to the community, probably helped out a lot of you in many different ways. He wears many different hats, from being a counselor, a relationship counselor, a life coach, things of that nature, helping you get things in order. You can go see this man. He's helped people in that fashion. Has experience too. Ain't just, just telling you something that he don't know nothing about and ain't been through. He's also a teacher. Teaches theology and philosophy. Things that, them tough conversations, them conversations that split families up and friends and just causes you to challenge your own critical thinking, but he's also an author. Came with a couple really great books that's on the market right now. Divine Frustration, Marriage and Maturity. I'm right here with Mr. Jason Moore. What's up, Jason? Thank you for coming aboard, man.
Thank you.
First of all, man, right off the back, man, because you saying you this counselor, brother, and you counsel people on relationships, but you look young, suave, and debonair, like still out there. You look like that. You look like you got this maturity going on too. Now, don't get me wrong, but this glow about you, lends me believe that you got this life experience that you're willing to share.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, you're welcome.
So as far as, and that's connected to my work as a counselor, you know, in terms of life experience. So that's actually what led me to become a counselor, because years ago, I never had any interest in doing that kind of work. You know, I wanted to help people, but that wasn't the way I wanted to do it. But I had some life experiences that just opened my eyes to the realities of, you know, different mental health challenges, but some also experiences that opened my eyes to the difference between, say, professional counseling and non-professional counseling.
Yeah.
So, you know, having those experiences eventually led me to go in the direction of becoming a counselor. So that's what I began to do. You know, like I said, that wasn't my intent. As a matter of fact, you know, before I became a counselor, I was a first-year law student, and I was on track to becoming an attorney, but I switched gears after having some experiences, and I don't regret that at all, you know, because my work as a counselor is very meaningful. I get to participate in having very engaging and transformative conversations with people, and it's just a very fulfilling experience to see people go from a state of distress to a state of health, and actually seeing people get better. So it's one of the most meaningful decisions I've ever made to become a counselor.
Now, you mentioned something. You said mental challenges. So that alludes me to believe you yourself fought mental challenges that you had to overcome and get through yourself personally?
Well, it was more so, you know, mental health challenges that I saw in family dynamics, you know.
You mean in your own family?
Yes. And so my eyes were open to that reality, you know, like once I came to see that just the ways in which, you know, mental health can impact families, especially when you're talking about unresolved trauma.
Yeah.
So we all go through things.
Yeah.
We all have very difficult experiences. Some people heal and some don't.
Right.
And so when some people heal, they are empowered to do better, and they learn from those experiences and they can move forward.
Yeah.
A lot of times when people don't heal, then that pain stays with them.
Yeah.
And it continues to resurface over time. And it can not only damage their life, it can damage or it can harm the lives of those around them.
Now, you mentioned candidly before the show, you grew up in the Harvard Miles area.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody know anything about that area, that's like a working class area. Correct me if I'm wrong. 'Cause, you know, I ain't hung out there in a few minutes. It got a little dangerous, you know, shootouts and you go to the spots, you know. But, you know, I ain't throwing nobody under the rug. It's, like I said, it's a working class community, but you got a lot of single mothers there, you know, and so a lot of trials and tribulation, and you recognize some of these societal ills in your own family, and that kind of did something to you to where you wanted to make a stand yourself. Am I to be correct? Am I hearing you right?
Well, growing up, yes. I mean, there was quite a bit of drama, you know, in that community. And kind of like to your point about the single moms, you know, that was one of the...
Yeah, I ain't lying.
Yeah. That's one of the challenges with a lot, and even when I was growing up, you know, just a lot of us just not having a sense of direction. You know, a lot of us coming, like you said, single parent homes.
Did you come from a single parent home?
I did. I was raised, I and my two siblings, you know, we were raised by a single mom.
Don't be off, man. I'll be in the hood, man. Hood spokesman. I know about where you be at. You know? No, I ain't mean to cut you.
It's all right. Yeah. But that is one of the challenges, you know, when you don't have a sense of direction, you don't have much guidance, you know, you don't have, role models.
How did you overcome that? You from the circumstance, single parent home, how did you overcome that to where you're this great man now, where you're a leader in the community?
Yeah. I think what did it for me is when I eventually became a Christian, which I did not anticipate that, you know, I did not grow up going to church. And so it was totally unexpected. But when I was 15, you know, my sister became a Christian and she started learning more about the Bible and things like that. And so she eventually invited, not just me, but a lot of people to attend this Bible study. Make a long story short, I ended up becoming a Christian through that Bible study. And I think that was the turning point for me, because prior to that, I did not have any real direction or guidance, didn't know what I was going to do with my life.
How young were you when you decided to go
16,
this way? 16.
16. And I don't know where I would have ended up, had I not done that, because I just didn't have a plan.
Why, your single parent mother didn't have much control over you? She didn't have tough reins over you?
Well, she was limited in her involvement because she was working a full-time job. She retired early to care for her mom, who was ailing at the time, her health. And so she ended up retiring early to be a caregiver. And so growing up, she just wasn't as involved, and I imagine she probably wanted to be more, but, her time was just so limited.
What did that do to you or do for you?
Well, unfortunately, it gave us a lot of freedom. It gave us.
Did you abuse that freedom?
We did. We got involved in, when I say we, I'm talking about my siblings and I. We got involved in a lot of things that, kids shouldn't be getting involved in. I tell people sometimes that by the time I was 15, I probably experienced just about everything there is to experience as far as drinking, smoking, sexual activity, violence.
You jumped off the porch early, Jason. Hold on, man.
Yeah.
He didn't say 18 or 19.
Yeah.
He said 15 or 16.
Yeah.
Drinking, smoking, having sex.
Selling drugs.
Yeah, unfortunately. Man, we got to break the cycle, man. We got to start thinking about more things than those things at 15 and 16. But it takes for the people before us to give us those opportunities, straight up and down, Well, okay, you're this counselor now and you're pulling people coattail, but did you have that?
Did I experience counseling?
Did you have somebody in your life to say, hey, Jason, man, come on, man, let's get it together?
Unfortunately, not really. I mean, so all of my friends and even some of the older men, who were around us, I wouldn't say too older. Like, for example, my brother, he's 8 years older than me. And there were a number of his friends in the neighborhood, but we were all doing the same things, so it really wasn't, like what you're describing, like
Big Bro really couldn't school me because I was passing it right to him. You know what I'm saying? You can't school me, bro.
Yeah.
Not when you just hit it too. No, you can't, man. All we can talk about is damn, we high, man. But okay, so, no, so you didn't. Something happened, man, for you to challenge your faith and belief.
Yeah.
And challenge your ways and to make a change. Something happened. What happened, Jason?
Well, I think it was just me, becoming a Christian, but that wasn't the only thing.
No, man, but folks, something drive us to even want to explore that.
Yeah. Well, I did have quite a few. So when I was 15, okay, so from the summer of 1995 through, say, the fall, you're talking about within a 6-month period, I went to approximately 6 funerals within a 6-month period of time.
Your friends?
Friends, family members, like my grandmother passed that summer, next door neighbors on both sides, family, they passed. One of my friends passed at a young, I think he was only 15 when he passed. And so I was primed. When I went to that Bible study, I had a lot to think about because of all of the people close to me that I had lost within a 6-month period. So when I went there, I just started thinking about my own life, and what if I'm next? Where am I going? What's going to happen to me? So yes, it wasn't just becoming a Christian. It was reflecting on all those experiences of losing all those people. Ever been
incarcerated?
I haven't been incarcerated, but when I was 13, I was arrested. So when I talk about by the time I was 15, I experienced everything, that's another one of those things. So I was
13, I was pinched.
Yeah.
T. Like, hold on. What were you pinched for, Jason?
Driving. I wasn't driving. I was riding in a stolen car.
Yeah, we
So,
was off the hook with it. We were off the hook with it.
yeah.
We were off the hook with it, man.
Yeah.
Like, hold on, Jay. Like, man, we this totally different person, man.
Yeah.
We got scared straight some kind of way. We got straight the deaths, the deaths, you know, that we incurred, our neighbors, our friend, you know, family. That kind of shook us up. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Kind of made you reflect on your own life?
Yeah.
Why their demises were some might have been tragic or untimely or what have you?
It was a combination of all of that. At the time, my grandmother, she had moved in with us because of her health was declining. So she had moved in with us.
Moved in with who was us?
My mom and my two siblings.
Okay.
So she
yourself.
moved. Yes. So she was living with, I think she was in her 90s at the time.
Wow, your grandmom did. Your
Yeah.
mom's mom.
Right. Now at the time I was only 15. Okay. So she had moved in with us, but she was only there for like a few months before she ended up passing. And we discovered it. You know, we think that it was like heat exhaustion related to that because it was, I believe, in July when it was really hot. We didn't have air conditioning. So I came home one day. I still remember this. I came home. I might have been out playing with some friends. And I came home. My brother was downstairs with my grandmother because we had put her in the basement to try to keep her cool.
She was overheating?
Yeah. And he was downstairs. She was on the floor. He was downstairs trying to, I guess, revive her, help her. And I didn't know at the time. I didn't know until I went inside and saw it. You know, eventually the ambulance came. And so, you know, she unfortunately passed that day. And that was the first funeral I had ever been to.
Were you close with your grandma?
Well, somewhat. I mean, she was in her 90s, you know, she didn't have all of her, you know, faculties, you know, fully operational. But I would spend time with her. You know, I would talk to her. I'm talking about
like in the earlier days. Like.
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, there would be times when like my mom would take us to go and visit her before she moved in and, you know.
I'm trying to see how that affect you so much to where it tugged at you.
Yeah. Well, part of it was just because she was living with us.
Okay,
so
you got more closer to
right.
her. It's your history. Were you able to start asking her things about your family tree?
I didn't really go that deep with it.
Because she couldn't really get on that level with you?
Yeah, I didn't really. And then you have to remember, I mean, I'm 15 at the time.
Yeah, and you would, you know, you just got arrested at 13. We rolling up, we throwing back. It's like, yeah, grandma, you here? How you doing? Yeah. Yeah.
So it was tough, you know, it was really difficult to experience. Like I said, that was the first funeral, but it wasn't the last. And like I said, after that, you know, my next door neighbor, and then my neighbor on the other side, you know, his dad. And then, like I said, my friend who was, I think, only 15, maybe 16 at the time.
Was that a tragic situation? Your friend?
It was.
Untimely death? Was he unalived?
I'm sorry?
Was he unalived? Killed?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
And that was hard. Yours? Yeah, what's that?
A close friend of yours?
Yeah, I mean, we were growing up, you know, went to the same school, you know, spent a lot of time together. And that was tough, not only because of how young he was, not only because of how it happened, but just because it was a part of all of these other losses that I was experiencing. So it wasn't like that one happened in isolation. You know, it was family, it was neighbors, and it was just leading me to wonder and think that much more about life.
So the finality of it all made you start doing introspection and getting serious about your direction.
It made me start thinking more, and that's what I think prepared me for when I eventually went to that Bible study. Because when I first heard about it, I wasn't interested. You know, I didn't have a draw to it. You know, I mean, how many 15-year-olds want to go to a Bible study on a Saturday night?
So how long did it take for you to get really interested to where it's become this big part of your life?
It took a couple of months, you know, and really,
months.
yeah, and it wasn't really, I just woke up and decided I wanted to go. It was my closest friend at the time. He decided that he was going. You know, my sister had told him about it. So he said he will go.
Hold on, I'm hearing a lot of connectivity with sis.
Yeah.
She's older. You know,
She's older.
Okay,
Yeah.
sis is older. She's like this connector. She wanted to see her siblings doing well.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't want to see you continue to go down that path, so she wanted to introduce things to you.
Right.
Wow, you still all close together now?
Yeah. Yeah. We're still close. We typically see each other every weekend, almost. And, you know, so yeah, we've been able to stay connected over the years. And, but the turning point, like what you were saying, was just deciding to go when I found out that my friend was going. And I just felt more comfortable, you know, I guess because he was going. So that's where it started.
You felt like it filled some kind of void in your life?
Well, I think at that time, I was challenged to just really take life more seriously and really think about those bigger questions. You know, does God exist? What happens to us after we die? You know, what is the meaning of our lives? So I would say I was more challenged to think more deeply about all those questions. And I was confronted with that when I went to this Bible study and I was able to reflect on all of those losses. Because that was one of my questions that I was thinking as I sat there that one time is, what if I'm next?
Right.
And I could have been.
Well, we didn't, and we remained on course, and we end up getting into a couple different lanes, being a counselor, an author, a teacher. And candidly, I asked you what came first, and you said the counseling?
Well, I actually started teaching first.
Now,
Yeah.
let's bring people up to speed. Where were you teaching?
So I started teaching at the college level. I started teaching religious studies at Tri-C here in Cleveland. And I just had an interest in it. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy talking about those deeper issues of life that you talk about in classes about religion. And so I started there. I just continued on. And then I later was able to begin teaching philosophy courses as well.
What you talking about? What you talking about in those classes? Like, was you diving into Christianity or what you was talking about?
So in the general course, the Intro to Religious Studies, you know, you talk about themes in religions, you talk about sacred writings, you talk about a variety of topics, and then you just look at how different religions interact with those topics. So, for example, if we're talking about religious traditions, you know, we may talk about how Christians do things, how Muslims do things, you know, how Jewish people do things, you know. So it really, once you start teaching, you kind of determine like what you're going to talk about. And that's just the way the class was formulated. You just talk about a variety of topics and how like the different religions intersect with those different topics.
Let me ask you a question. With you being so solidified in your faith and belief, when you look out in the world and you see on every block you see an institution of faith and belief and practice, and you see so many of it, but yet it's so much turmoil in the world, where do you think the disconnect is at? Because no matter what denomination you're into, the bottom line seems to me is you want to be a good person. You want to have great practices where you're dealing with health and wellness, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. That's what it seemed like you would want to be into, no matter if you're Christian, Muslim, no matter what faith or denomination. It seemed like you want to, you know, build and progress in your life. So with all these mosques, church, synagogues, you can go within miles of each other, but why is there so much discord and disconnect in your mind?
Well, I think it could be a couple of different reasons for that. You know, number one is because the houses of worship that you describe, you know, a lot of times the focus of those institutions, depending on who's leading them, a lot of times the focus tends to be more on the spiritual life. And so sometimes the day-to-day matters or some of the things that you see in the world may not receive as much attention because the focus is more on the spiritual lives of the individuals and more on focusing on the afterlife. And, like this common thought that, we are in this world, and yes, I mean, if we have opportunities to make the world a better place, some people do take that seriously. Some people do give of themselves to really try to improve the lives of the people in their communities and even throughout the world. But not everyone prioritizes that, for one reason or another. It could also be limited resources. So, for example, when you think about, inner city communities or inner city churches, for example, where they may have limited resources, these may be smaller congregations and they're not really equipped to think on such a broader scale as far as trying to bring social transformation. They're just trying to help the people in their church, So it really just depends. I mean, there are some churches that really strive to do a lot of good in the community and, in their city. But those tend to be the churches that have more resources. So I think that is part of it as well, But to your earlier point, yes, it is true that religion in general does, whatever the belief system is ultimately about helping the person be better.
Yeah, I mean that's what it seemed like to me, and you teaching theology and philosophy. Now you said nowadays is more so of the philosophy, more so than the theology. Why is that?
Well, it's the course.
Is it because you want to bring people like, okay, we've had enough of the spiritual. Let's get practical. Let's start applying these good practices in our lives and not just looking at it like when we die or looking up to a ghost in the sky or something. Mm-hmm. Am I reading you correct?
Well, I do like both, but the way it works now with my teaching...
You do like a crutch. You like a crutch? You like, because that's a crutch or cane. I'm just waiting to die. I don't know what's going to happen when I die, but I'm waiting to die. Or is a better place for me somewhere else? But I'm here right now. And it's my duty to civilize the uncivilized or bring heaven about my own existence and remove hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly one way to look at it. I mean, we live in the world, we have our own lives to contend with. So, yes, there is a sense in which our lives should receive priority, which is one of the reasons why I do advocate healthy lifestyles, So one of the things that I talk a lot about in my social media platforms, for example, is living a healthy lifestyle, which I mainly focus on three things. Regular exercise, eating plant-based foods, and learning to manage stress.
That's your secret? Why you sitting up here looking like you from Wakanda? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? My man looking like the African prince around this. You know what I'm saying? Glowing. It's official. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to America. You know what I'm saying? So you practice plant-based eating?
Yes.
So do I. I haven't ate meat, Jason, in it's almost 30 years probably, man.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, man, I ain't had no BLT in about 30 years, I just ate a black bean burger. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Hold on, how did we get into this holistic way of living and health and wellness? How did we get into that?
Well, as far as the exercise, I was first introduced to lifting weights, when I was a kid. A lot of guys in my neighborhood were doing it. So that's where I first started and I got, acquainted with it. And over the years, I, continued to do that, But in terms of like really making it a priority, it's just getting older, and it's just realizing that, you know, we only have one body we've been given, and we have a responsibility to try to take care of it. And that's one of the best ways to do it is
We
to
transform from tearing ourselves up to actually giving a damn.
yes.
You had to have the courage to do that, to break habits.
Yeah. You
You
do.
know, whether they were a literal habit
Mhm.
or just a mindset.
Right.
You know, again, you know, what gave you that strength? I know you talk a lot about how you went to Bible study and things of that nature, but it had to have been a fire, a desire, a want inside of you. What was the want? What was the fire about?
Well, part of it was when I became a parent, you know, and I started thinking about, this was actually what changed my views on eating as well. I had been a parent for maybe like a couple of years, and someone had told me about a documentary called Forks Over Knives.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. I need to revisit that. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I watched it.
Hold on, was that talking about the evolution of farming and how it's been manipulated and by corporate interests and stuff like that?
Well, they talk a little bit about that in there. The gist of it is they're basically saying that the way we eat contributes to our overall health, whether
Yeah.
it's healthy eating or unhealthy eating.
Yeah.
And they provide a lot of examples, a lot of studies, researchers. You even have one physician in there from the Cleveland Clinic talking about why he prioritizes it.
Yeah.
And so I watched it and I was convinced that this was a change that was worth making.
Yeah, it don't take much. I went to a holistic health seminar in San Diego. And ever since that seminar, I ain't eat meat, baby. It was free holistic health, and I wasn't familiar with the words. I'm like, I'm gonna go see what this is about, holistic health. And they had a panel of 9 doctors, Jason.
30 years ago, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, almost 30 years ago. Listen.
No, you said it was 30 on the dot.
Something like that. Something like that. I gotta really think back, but 20 plus. No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't. At least 20, 24. I think 26 years. Let me be accurate. No, sir. No. Sorry, I didn't. No, sir. I just prepared your pieces the way you liked it. You know. I just prepared you. What they're talking about is we had a pizza shop before the show. Yeah, no, you never seen me eat pepperoni. No, and you know, but no, that's great because I can go all night to the story. But I went to a holistic health seminar. It was a panel of doctors, Jason, like 9 of them. They was all different nationalities, and the audience was about 400 people. It was in an amphitheater, and they blew up pictures of people's eyes that was volunteering, and they blew it up on a big projector so everyone could see it. And they called up volunteers for it, and one of the volunteers was a lady. I was in San Diego Community College at the time, and she was a student, and we were in a couple of the same classes. That's how I knew this to be true. They took a picture of her eyeballs, and they explained the discoloration of her pupils, and they verbatimly told her what she had eaten in the last 48 to 72 hours to the T. They said, you ate hamburger, didn't you? Yes. You ate this, you drank that? Yes. So they was explaining how the amount of, yes. They was explaining that one of the things that I picked up on was they was explaining that 1 can of soda pop has enough sugar in it to nullify your immune system for 24 hours. So it knocks out your immune system. And if you know anything about your immune system, that's what the system in your body that helps fight off disease and illness and infection. You know, and helps you heal in a timely manner. Well, if it's nullified, if it's nullified, you know, and if you eating 3 times a day sugary products, you can begin to see the damage that you're doing to yourself. And they were also talking about how meat stays in your system. The 1 hamburger stays in your system for 72 hours. After you eat it, it stays in your system for 72 hours, 1 hamburger. And You know, it clogs up your arteries, does a lot of mucus and plaque build up around your arteries and causes heart congestion over time. So, yeah, you know, so
I had a burger.
you just ate a burger, baby. All you burger eaters, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mess up your daily function, you know. I ain't trying to persuade you either way. I'm just putting the information out there. We got Jason Moore. He's into health and wellness, so I just thought that was a pertinent thing, you know. And so you start looking to be healthy and a healthy lifestyle. And do you counsel this well in your consultations?
Well, it sometimes comes up, you know. I mean, that's not something that comes up regularly.
So
you
your
know.
consultations and counseling is mostly geared to relationship advice.
A lot of it is with couples, you know, and, you know, but that's not the only, you know, thing that I focus on, you know, but yeah, good portion of my clients are couples.
Well, let's get them some background. You ought to know. You were married twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
6 years in both marriages. What is it about both marriages in those 12 years of being married that you could say that was a consistent leading towards good relations?
Well, I think one of the things that I try to think about is, what did I learn? How have I grown? How have I matured? And ultimately, how I can be better going forward.
Ha! If you ain't looking at it like that, man, I'm sorry. You in over your head, man, because you're gonna face a lot of turmoil if you don't look. You know, it's okay to be imperfect, but what's not okay is to remain imperfect. You know, it's okay to be imperfect. Nobody's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But what's not okay is you don't seek to do better. That's what's not okay. Do you feel that way?
I do. And that's one of the things that I do highlight when sometimes meeting with couples, and some of the things that come up is just the importance of...
Jay, you 40, I'm 65, I'm 70. What I look like hollering at you, man? You a young whippersnapper. You still selling your oats. You probably got 2 or 3 girlfriends. Talking about some relationship advice.
Well, you know, that is one of the, I think, misconceptions that sometimes people have.
Okay.
Is that, you know, if you're younger...
Young, debonair, handsome, I gotta be this playboy. No, how I can't just be eating right, thinking right, and trying to move right? I ain't what, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Joe.
No, that's
Jason,
all right.
I didn't mean to
That's all
cut
right.
you. So, no, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, I was just saying that that's one of the things that sometimes people think, is that if a person is younger, they don't really have much to contribute, because there is a lot of emphasis on experience, you know, life experience.
What do you say to that, though?
Well, I don't normally get that type of concern, I guess, expressed to me, you know, in terms of, you know, like thinking that, you know, I'm too young to relate. Most of my clients are either around my age, maybe a little older, and some younger.
Keep it real. Whose idea was it? The woman or the man's idea?
Counseling?
Yeah, when the couples come to you.
It varies. Most of the couples that I see, at least in terms of the name that the session is under, because normally when you have couple session, it has one person's name associated with it. So, you know, whose ever insurance is covering it. Normally,
No, I'm talking about from your sense of discussion. When you get in there and they're in there talking, usually you could tell who idea was to come, because we can't talk alone. We need a third party to help us get over things.
yeah.
Do you pick up on that type of stuff?
A lot of times it is the wife or the girlfriend who may be initiating that.
How do you get your point across to the woman when you pick up? Because I know you pick up things on both sides and you have to express what you pick up on. But by you being a male and it's 2 men in here and then you got the lady, how do you get your point across? Like, how do you approach that where you picked up on something that can help the woman help their relationship.
Yeah.
How do you get that point across? Like,
Well,
how do you approach things?
Well, it's really, so that's one of the things that they teach you when you are going to school to become a counselor is how to connect with people, how to communicate, how to listen, how to restate what's being said, but ultimately how to help people. So what I'm always listening for is what is most helpful in this particular situation, what's being communicated. And so even if it is something that may be directed at the woman, you know, I'm still looking at the emotions behind what's being communicated on both sides.
Sure.
And ultimately trying to help them connect the dots so that they pick up on it themselves.
Yeah.
And they're able to connect with each other better. They're able to relate to each other better. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to prioritize, is to help them hear what the other person is saying, help them to empathize with what each person is saying, and ultimately allow that to move them towards some type of positive change.
Is it ever frustrating when you hear something, when these couples come to visit you, and it's something so simple and plain that's in their way and you see it, but maybe they don't see it, and you just want to say, hey, it's so simple. Listen to that woman, listen to that man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it everything ever like that?
I have thoughts like that sometimes, you know, but at the same time, I also, you know, try to remind myself that we all have different life experiences. We have different personalities. You know, there are reasons why we are perceiving things the way that we are. We're responding the way that we are. So the most that I'm able to do is to try to help them see for themselves what's needed for both of them to move towards positive changes.
So I want to revisit something because I want to make sure I heard you right. I asked you, out of the 12 years of you being married, what was the one constant that led you to believe that this is a great practice towards having a great relationship? What was that?
I would say the great practice, if I had to land on one thing,
Yeah.
I would say the great practice would be prioritizing personal growth. Because
Prioritizing personal growth. Yeah. Yeah, because if you're not prioritizing your own personal growth, how your relationship is going to grow? How? In any walk of life. It don't just have to be a relationship with, you know, your husband or wife or man or woman. It can be a business relationship. What relationship?
yeah.
You know, now in those 12 years of marriage, what was the thing most likely to keep people apart? Because are you married now?
Mm-mm.
We're not married now. And we was married in 12 years of marriage. What was it that we're not married now?
I want to know why every 6 years, like at the end of the 6 years,
There you go.
what did it keep telling you?
The 6 years, it was like, boop.
Yeah,
Hit the
like
button.
you said 6 years 2 times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So statistically,
Yeah, explain that, Jay, because it
Yeah.
sounded like you got the 6-year button on.
Like it's
Yeah.
a
yeah, I don't know what it is about the 6-year mark, but statistically, they say that a lot of times in marriages, they are most challenged when you get to that 5 to 7 year period, because by the time you get to that period, you've experienced a lot and you've had a lot of time to think about the future, the long-term outcome of the relationship. And so you get to that point, and it could very well be something that triggers a decision in one way or another.
Yeah.
So, you know, it just depends. It's different from one couple to the next. But I don't think that it's in any way inevitable that when you get to a certain period in a relationship, you have to reevaluate it. I think sometimes what happens is people go into marriages and for whatever reason, the commitment is not what it should be. Or like what we were saying earlier, the focus on growth is not what it should be. And so it ends up showing up in different ways, you know. And a lot of times that ends up contributing to the outcome Yeah. Of different relationships.
That's true. So answer my question. In those 12 years of being married, what was a thing that you seen that maybe contributed to you not being married anymore?
If I had to put them both together, kind of like what I was saying earlier, I think it was just
Other than you not wanting to be married no more.
I would say it was just a lack of prioritizing personal growth.
Huh? You mean your own yourself, like?
No.
Let's get it straight, T. yo, T. Hey, T. I ain't say that, G. Everything ain't all about me. It ain't all my fault. It ain't all my fault, T. Man, that's. But hold on, though, Jason, because you done came with 2 literary works. Divinely Frustrated, if I'm correct, right?
Divine Frustration.
Divine Frustration, excuse me. Divine Frustration and Marriage and Maturity.
Yes.
Let's start with Marriage and Maturity.
Mm-hmm.
Your counseling work, counseling couples, being in that frame of mind, being in that work, did it lead you to produce this book?
That was a big part of it, yes. Because one of the things that I realized was that a lot of people want to be married. Most people do experience.
Do you want to be married again? A third time, sir?
I'm open to it.
You're open to it?
I'm open to it.
Don't speak for him, Jazz. We open. It's still in us. We wasn't damaged. We incurred damage, but we ain't to the point where we just give up on love. 2 times you out? Hold on, Jazz. You were married twice too, right, though? No, one time. Okay, but... Okay, let me get it straight. I'm sorry. All right, so, okay, no, it's, okay, so, all right, so...
That means that you feel like it's hope, right? You feel like it's the woman I heard that it's hope, right?
I think it's possible. Yeah, I think it's possible. And one of the things that I'm thinking about now is just the importance of being properly aligned, and just how. Yeah.
I mean, if you on that train, man, that white girl, I ain't on it, man, and I ain't selling it no more, so it just don't make good sense to keep kicking it, or you throwing the bottle up every day. You Grady. Like that woman, man, they get tired of that, man. You Grady, you coming in Grady. Nah, man. You know what Grady was, right? From Sanford and Son. Yeah, Grady from Sanford, the drunk on Sanford and Son. He was always drunk. You know what I'm saying? Or Winfro the wino. On that, y'all gotta do your research. It was good lessons on them shows, But yeah, man, no, you gotta check yourself, Hold on, so that was part of it. Was pushed us to marriage and maturity, Was it also some of these stories that you were hearing, and then you were able to help people, and once you seen that you help people, you're like, well, I'm gonna put this in a book.
That was part of it as well. It's a combination of things. It was a combination of personal reflections, experiences in counseling, what I saw in other couples. But what also made me think about it is there's a show that comes on Lifetime, I believe it is. And it's a series.
Jazz. One of your favorite?
Yeah, it's a series called Married at First Sight.
You watched that?
Yeah.
You seen that?
And
Marriage at First. Hold on, I don't sound too player though. Marriage at First Sight.
So do you like that show? Like,
Hold on, that don't sound too player.
I
Marriage at First Sight, DJ.
used to watch it almost every day because of how interesting
Marriage at
it
First
is.
Sight. Why would you watch it every day? Why?
Because of how interesting the show is. So the way it works is you have a panel of experts, and you have
People
a lot
that been
of
through shit.
well, people who are supposedly prepared to match people up with other people.
Okay.
And so you have a lot of people who are single and they send in their information to these experts. They look over their profiles. They match them with someone that they think they'll be compatible with. And then after they do that, they contact them, let them know they've been matched, and they end up getting married to someone they've never met. And they marry someone they've never met, and their lives are followed for about 8 weeks. And after that 8-week period, they make a decision to either stay married or get a divorce.
See, all that sound too crazy. I ain't gonna throw no names out there, but we had an individual down with us. She said, "Hey T, I'm going out of town. I'm about to get married." Right? "Oh, congratulations. That's great. Fine." She goes out of town. But she don't get with the guy she was supposed to marry. She gets with another guy and marries him. Brings him back to Cleveland. They have domestic violence. She stabs him up almost to death. He doesn't file any charges because he felt like he kind of exasperated their situation. But man, you were going out of town to marry somebody you met online. And then when you got there, you didn't get with him. You got with somebody else and married them. Somebody you didn't know either. And then brought him back here. Hold on, do you run into this type of stuff that I'm talking about, being this couples counselor?
Well, not to the extent that you just described.
Man, I hope you don't run into it, man, because it's out there.
Yeah, that's tragic, what you just described.
Yeah, man, it's tragic, man.
Jason's an expert.
Yeah, Jason's an expert. We talked about them experts. To be an expert, man, come on, man. You know, you got to have the... Jason, he got 12 years of marriage. He's an expert in marriage. And one thing he's dealt with was marriage and maturity. So did you bring those same principles onto yourself? You spoke a lot about personal growth. Is that what you end up choosing, and that's why you're single right now?
Well, growth is certainly a priority, and that's married or single, that should be a priority for all of us,
How can one achieve that while they're married? How can one, did you ever deal with that question? Hey man, I'm married, but hey, I need my personal time. I need to work on my personal growth. How can I achieve that, Jason? Were you ever asked that? And if so, and if you were to be asked that, how would you respond?
Well, in counseling work, there are all types of issues that come up. We know whether it's, personal time issues, communication struggles, issues with extended family, in-laws. There are all types of issues that come up. But the focus is always on what is going to work best for both parties, because it can't just be about one, because they're both in that relationship. So it's always going to be what is going to work best for both of them in the relationship going forward. It has to be an emphasis on a win-win outcome.
So that's what you're listening for when you're talking to them. You're listening what did work between them, and then you're suggesting more of those type of things.
Sometimes it's like that, sometimes they haven't tried anything, and so we have to explore, what will be beneficial.
What about the guy that have a tough time handling the conversation or dealing, the relations because of, for whatever reason, he wants to run away from the conversation? What would you say to that person?
Well, one of the things that comes up pretty regularly is strains on the communication, whether it's not enough. Strains.
Okay.
Yeah. Whether it's not enough communication, whether the communication just doesn't go well, whether it's kind of like what you were saying, the person is avoiding the communication. And we talk about different communication styles, communication patterns. We talk about some that are known to be damaging and destructive.
Give me something to hang my hat on.
All right. So let me give you an example, specifically the one that you just gave, the person who doesn't want to talk. So there's a term for that. It's called stonewalling. So the way that works is if a person doesn't want to, especially if it's something difficult, they don't want really to talk about it. And so they shut down, they withdraw, and they avoid the conversation. Now, they may feel in the moment that that's helping them. They may feel like that is what is leading them to cope and what is going to put them in a positive state. But what they may not be thinking is how that can be damaging the relationship, because communication is essential, and learning how to communicate effectively is essential so that both parties feel heard, both parties feel understood in what they're saying, and both people can talk about whatever they need to talk about and know that it is for the good of the relationship.
Well, give me something good that we can do to communicate well.
Can I
To-
ask a question?
Yeah, can we give her a mic?
So is it more like if a person...
Or can you speak up a little bit so the mic can pick you up?
Conversation, is it because they really not in tune with their self? You understand, like, especially like, okay, like you said, like the conversation, and then it can be certain conversations, and if a person don't want to conversate like about that certain stuff, I feel like to me a person is not in tune within themselves to have that conversation. Because you wanna know why? Because no matter what conversation you have with a person, and whatever it is, you should be already ready and up for it to have a conversation, right? No matter what it is, right?
Ideally, yes. You know, you
say
should.
ideally.
Yeah, you should be able to talk to your partner about whatever. But sometimes people are conflict avoidant. And so anything that they may perceive to be emotionally charged, you know, something that may lead to an argument, you know, something that just makes them uncomfortable.
So that means that they're not in tune within themselves. That means
Yeah.
they have, you know, when I say like in tune, it means that they have not really, you know, like most men or even women, they're not in tune like to learning who they are as a person. Because then you will be able to accept whatever it is. Like, okay, I'm talking to this person. I'm going to be able to accept, like, I'm going to talk to this person. This conversation will really go as flow. If you kind of stand offish with that conversation, that means that you not
You
ready
might have
to-
some personal growth to deal with.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that's what he's talking about with the growth part. So when I say in tune, they're not in tune within that inner. We gonna say not outer. We talking about inner.
Mhm.
Inner is a different thing, because if it's more inner, then it's gonna create an outer out. You know what I'm trying to say?
Go
Okay.
ahead.
I think so.
You
I
agree?
think
You
so.
agree with that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, so the way I understand what you're saying is the person hasn't developed the capacity to have those difficult conversations.
Maturity conversation.
Yes, yes. And so that would be an example of like someone who's stonewalling. I mean, it's someone who just has a difficult time with that discomfort, you know, because you probably heard people say things like, well, I just don't like conflict. And so what they'll do is they may passively go along with things, or, you know, they may be overly agreeable just because it's too uncomfortable for them to have those difficult conversations. So like you said, that could be an area of growth that's needed, and it's certainly needed in a relationship because you have so many things you're going to talk about, so many things you need to discuss, and you need to be able to do it effectively. And that's one of the things that we...
Help me out with a question that I had, because I'm gonna try to get clarity on that. What would be a great practice for a couple that individually they need to continue their personal growth, but at the same time maintain the growth of their relationship? Have you ever gave any advice on that? And if so, or if not, what would you say to that?
Well, one of the things that, so in the book Marriage and Maturity, the final chapter discusses that very question.
Get the book. I ain't gonna tell you everything. I give you a nugget. Give me a nugget, Jason.
Okay. Yeah. And that's really what that last chapter is about, is basically how to develop maturity for the relationship. So one of the things that I talk about there is the need to surround ourselves with growth-oriented material. And what that means is listening to things that will help us grow, being around people that will help us to grow, watching things that help us to grow, reading things that help us to grow. Because if there's one common denominator that I think we see in couples who are struggling, it's either one or both parties are not really prioritizing growth for themselves and growth for the relationship.
Man, that's a great point, man. We appreciate you, Jason.
Thank you.
Now, real quick, if you want somebody to patronize you and get your literary work, please offer that work and where they can get it.
So I have a website that has not only information about the books, but also just some of the other work that I've done. And that website is jasonlmoore.com. That's jasonlmoore.com. And information about the books and information about other things I've been involved with, it's all on the website.
If somebody wanted to book a session with you and bring their significant other and be counseled by your great knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and they sought help from you, how could they do that?
Yeah, same thing. I also have links on the website about my counseling work. So they could go on there and they would see a link to where I am working now in private practice, and they could actually follow that link if they wanted to schedule a session.
Give it up right here, Mr. Jason L. Moore. Hey, I want to thank everybody for tuning in around the world watching this show. I want to thank you, Mr. Moore, for coming aboard, being such a class act. You know, I appreciate that. Player T, that's me, Hollywood in the hood. We're going to take some pictures before you get out of here real quick.
Oh.